Hello, everybody, and back to the inn. Ongoro is upon us.
Welcome to Ongoro.
Yes, I still love the Benbro rap with that. And since it is upon us, it is time once again for us to start discussing the cards as they come out.
Oh yes, the card discussions, where we put it upon ourselves and end up rushing at the very end to put out as many videos as possible because we are always behind. Which makes sense. There are two of us and not one, so it takes a lot longer to get through some of these cards than some of these other streamers.
If anything, I'm hoping this time we can make it to where it's a lot faster and get them out faster, but I know we're getting our first big, huge dump at the end of this week.
Yeah, I'm expecting not only a huge dump, like an almost unfathomable amount of cards that there's no way we can cover in one video, but then they're just going to start the daily releases, and there's going to be a lot per day. So it's probably going to end up being like last time, where we'll end up just having to release multiple videos on the last Wednesday prior to release.
So here comes the berryman in a sense. If anything, well, let's just go dive headfirst right in.
At least we can start off easy.
Definitely. We've only got 5 cards to cover this time.
Unlike the 100 or so next time.
Hopefully not 100 so. It'll be about 40. I'm pushing the mouth button, so I'm just gonna shut my mouth button pressing and just go in right in for Volcano. 5 cost shaman spell with the effect of deal 15 damage randomly split among all minions. Overload 2. Balanced shaman cards. Thank you, Team 5. Thank you so much for doing something like this. We're losing Elemental Destruction, which, that's a big nuke. And it sucks. Yeah. But comboing this alongside a Halazeal is nice to be able to get 15 heal back to ourselves, because I believe we're also losing Healing Wave, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So
yeah, because Healing Wave was a Joust card.
Yeah, so we're losing two cards in a sense, and we get it in a combo sense folded back into one. So Volcano, very balanced. If anything, you have to be wary and mindful of your versus your opponent's board. And with Shaman, we all know it loves to have a board. So, I know we have to see what comes with the rest of the set. But for right now, and I'll more than likely mention this down the line with Volcano, I'll put it at least in my good/balance column because of it being something that can be used for mid to late game board controlling.
I think it's very interesting. I think I should go off and talk about this first. I think it's very interesting how they've approached Shaman, not only with this release, but also the Main Streets of Gadgetzan release. If you go back and really think about the Main Streets of Gadgetzan, they did not release a Shaman card as a preview right away. It was kind of, I think it was kind of an acknowledgement about how volatile Shaman was, so they really were focusing on other classes. They were focusing on classes that hadn't really been in the meta as of late, and so they held back on Shaman. And this one, they aren't holding back on Shaman as much as saying, hey, here's a Shaman card that would not fit any of the current Shaman meta decks. This is a Shaman card that goes against what has made Shaman the top tier decks this season. Hopefully this is a sign of things to come, but if nothing else, this is at least Blizzard acknowledging the way Shaman has been problematic the last year or so. I have no idea if this means anything for the class in general, but I think it's very interesting that they chose this to be the very first card that they focused on.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, I'll wait.
Oh yeah, no, go, because I'll be getting into the cards soon.
Oh no, what I was going with is that, like, because when going back to Mean Streets, as you mentioned, with Jinyu, Devolve, Jade Lightning, Jade Chieftain, Jade Claws, those right there are 5 big cards that are currently used in a lot of Shaman decks. So it's like, just those 5 cards alone still make Shaman a very lethal weapon going forward.
Yeah, and I know we haven't done an actual discussion video on this. I know we've talked about this privately, but I'll go right out and say it. I do not think Team 5 predicted mid-range Shaman grasping onto those cards in the way that did. I don't think they predicted Shaman grasping onto a lot of these different cards in quite the way that it did. I don't think they've really predicted how some of these decks have ended up.
So here's the better question. That may
just be a failing of Team 5. That just may be a failing that Hearthstone is not able to have a public test server. I'm going to go against the popular opinion of basically saying they should have a public test server. I'm saying that given the nature of this game, that's just plain impossible. I think that they do need to better play test some of this stuff. They actually need to get more professional players. Actually, I think in the play testing realm, I think that would help them get people who actually know this game, know how metas develop, and have them mainly play testing.
So the better question then comes: do you see Volcano becoming one of those latch cards that Shaman just so parasitically loves to latch onto?
I do not see it being used, given the fact that it's 15 damage split about among all the minions, and given the fact that one of Shaman's strengths is that it can repopulate its board, normally with smaller minions. Volcano threatens that, number 1. Number 2, it has a high overload cost. I mean, 2 is not huge compared to something like Elemental Destruction, but still, for the fact that more than likely it's going to wipe your board, that's a pretty hefty cost, especially if you're casting it around the 5 mana range. If it's later in the game, you don't care. I do not see Shaman as it is now using it. I don't see Aggro Shaman using it. There's no way Aggro Shaman uses this. I don't even see the current build of mid-range Shaman using this, because I think they have more reliable removal tools. However, I do see Control Shamans using this. I do see more late-game minded mid-range Shamans using this. What I mean by that is, normally if you're playing a mid-range deck, your deck can go in several different directions. It could, like, mid-range, basically by saying your deck is mid-range, is basically saying that it is able to respond to the board, to the game at all stages of the game, beginning, middle, end. Now your deck could be mostly populated with some early game minions, like more heavily populated in the early game, which means it'll probably top out in the 5 or 6 range. It could be more mid-range, which means you have a lot more 3, 4, 5s, maybe some 6s. Or it could be more late game. You're still going to have some early game, but your focus is going to be more on the 5, the 6, the 7, and up. I could see it being used in more late mid-range games. So we're talking about Shaman decks that would rely on 5 of minions with the cost of 5 and up, because those are going to be a lot heftier, and those would be more likely to survive the assault from Volcano. And like I said, I think that we could see we've seen a little bit of Control Shaman, but I think we're going to see it rise a little bit more if Volcano is the sign of things to come. So I think Shaman as it is now is not going to want to use Volcano, but we could see some of the later range decks that we. There are some later range, mid range decks I think that are waiting in the wings that aren't getting their time to shine. I think they're going to start to emerge more. Probably given the fact that Shaman is going to be losing a lot of its early turn cards. You'll probably see a shift of mid-range in general to later game. And in that sense, Eddie, I think if mid-range completely shifts to go from more early game to more late game, using a lot of the tools it has now, they are going to grab Volcano. Which means if the mid-range that you hate sticks around in some sense, they will grab Volcano because they will shift more towards the late game.
Mm-hmm.
In that sense, Eddie, we're not done seeing Shaman.
I know we're not. I definitely know we're not. Mid-Jade Shaman is way too strong right now for them to just let it go.
I don't think Jade Shaman is not going to use this.
No. But I'm saying, like, as far as
we're talking about general mid-range decks. I think they are going to use this. Okay, the next card is because they tend to like to show a legendary to kind of pique your interest, and so they decide to show the Mage legendary. The Mage legendary is Pyros. It's an elemental. They are introducing a new tribal type in this set, which are the elementals. They are going back. They are going to be rebranding several of the older cards to be up the elemental type. We know that the various elemental lores are going to be the elemental type now. So we're talking about Ragnaros. We're talking about Alakir. Neptulon. Also, I believe all the Ragers will be elementals. The elementals will be elementals, and maybe a few surprises. So we are going to see elemental as a tribe, which could be interesting. Normally, what that means is when they introduce a new tribe, Eddie, like they did this back with Goblins vs. Gnomes with mechs. That means we're going to see a lot of them. Meaning this is probably. Part of me wants to say that given it's Ogoro, it won't be the elemental set like Goblins vs. Gnomes was the mech set. Because I would like to think that maybe they'd be holding that back for another expansion, but we're probably going to at least see a decent infusion of elementals. I would imagine an infusion of elementals akin to, let's say, the Grand Tournament for Dragons. The Grand Tournament was not a dragon expansion, but it gave us a pretty good infusion of dragons. I'm thinking that might be what Ungora does for elementals. And so, given that, Pyros is an elemental legendary for Mage. It's a 2-cost 2/2 with the Death Rattle. Return this to your hand as a 6/6 that costs 6. Now the 6 cost ends up then having the Death Rattle that it returns to your hand as a 10/10 with the cost of 10. So basically, this card actually kind of resurrects itself and allows you to have a minion that you can play on later turns, especially in the late game, which signifies to me that Blizzard is again pushing later game decks. We see this with Volcano, we're seeing this with Pyros, and we're going to see this with another type of card coming up later. Again, Blizzard is trying to slow down the meta and slow down the meta, especially after the pirate meta, and they're going to do that with Pyros. My thoughts. Here's the thing, Eddie. When I think of Mage, I don't think of a reoccurring minion. Mage is very focused on their spells. So focusing on a legendary that is all about dying and coming back, and that you're playing the legendary just to have a body, that's generally not what Mage does. Mage wants minions that interact with their spells in some way. Mage wants to burst you. Mage is very much about magic. So I don't see the point of this legendary. It could be interesting. We could see a different type of Mage deck, but just the fact that this legendary runs counter to what Mage is all about makes me think that I just don't think this is going to get played. I think in any other class this might get played, but for Mages, I do not see this appealing to any Mage deck that currently exists.
I am torn. Because on one end, you mentioned a lot of what I had as far as concerns go when it came to Pyros. And you mentioned a lot of things that were definitely hit home with the mage class. Now, I haven't seen anything else as far as that goes. Of course, this is teaser based. So, on one end, I'm looking at Pyros and I'm going early, mid, late game card. And a constant hand presence in a sense. Which I'm fine with. Especially if we still get to keep Dirty Rat around. Because with the Dirty Rat mind control tech combo, you may have killed that Pyros early. They'll be holding the 6/6 in their hand. Drop the rat, pull the Pyros, pull it to your side. It gets popped, it goes to your hand, and you get a 10 cost 10/10. Or it's just one of those things to where maybe they're looking to potentially drag out a new way to look at Mage and potentially play Mage by trying to make it a sticky control style of deck. Because there's a lot of death rattle creatures that are out and about in the world. And it's like, you could play this card for early, mid to late. And then let's play N'Zoth and reset. And get like the 2/2, the 6/6 back on board. And then just kind of like keep regenerating, make it to where it's like you get the 10/10 a couple of times. So, on one end, there's a lot of potential here. And I like thinking about the potential. But realistically, when I look at it, I see it and I go, am I incredibly apt to drop, if I don't pull it, my 1600 dust to craft this thing? To, you know, like, when Mean Streets came out, everybody looked at the 3 gang leaders and you could practically bust your dust wallet on wanting to craft Aya and Kazakis. Those were immediate gimmies. Pyros just doesn't strike me right now as an immediate give-me card. So, I'm shifting it in the potential area. It has the potential to be good, but right now I'm putting it below good and just going to put it in, it has potential. It may surprise me, and it may be my dark horse card going forward.
See, just the longer I look at it, part of me wants to say, well, maybe there's something they want to play, but the more I look at it, I'm like, no. It runs so counter into. I've talked about cards that are kind of useless before, and I try to give a lot of cards the benefit of the doubt. But the fact of the matter is, this card runs so counter to how Mage wants to play, to how Mage plays in general. I cannot see any Mage player playing this card. It will be useful in Arena, granted, but I'm going to be talking about Constructed. I can't see any. Well, even in Arena, they're stressing spells more. I can't see this card being played.
I know.
I can't see this card being played. I just have to say it. I don't think this card's going to be played. I think it's a bad card. I mean, I like it. Like I said, in the other class, if it was a neutral, it would be good. It would be playable. But in Mage,
I know. That's why I'm just like, there's potential. So, if anything, let's see where things fall with this. Maybe there'll be some stuff that'll make Pyros good. Who knows? So, if anything, have you made your peace with Pyros?
Well, it's not as bad as
It's not as bad as Unlicensed Apothecary,
Yeah.
that's for damn sure. And you can say that for fact.
as a mage player, I'm crying I'm silently crying right now.
I'm a little bit, but I'll shift into the Druid 5-cost 5/4 Verdant Longneck, which has the battle cry of Adapt. And Adapt is a new feature, and a new mechanic, excuse me, that, well, it works like Discover, and you get to choose 3 random options, and out of all of them that are available, you have Liquid Membrane, which makes the card untargetable by spells or hero power. You have Flaming Claws, which gives you +3 attack. Crackling Shield, which is Divine Shield. Living Spores, which gives the card Death Rattle, summon 2 1/1 plants. Massive, which gives it Taunt. Lightning Speed for Wind Fury. Volcanic Might, which is +1/+1. Rocky Carapace, which gives it a +3 in health. Shrouding Mist, which gives it stealth. And then Poison Spit, which gives it the tagline of Poisonous, which with Poisonous is, in Magic the Gathering terms, Death Touch.
Yeah, well, okay, so it's probably best to mention that they also did a lot of simplifying that's going to be happening as well. Not only with the elemental tag, but you had several different minions in the past that basically just had the description of they destroy any minion they do damage to. They're simplifying that and giving it its own keyword, which is poisonous. Basically, that just means that they're going to be printing more of those in the future, and it's just going to become annoying to keep on printing that. I think at some point they'll probably give a keyword to can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. But as of right now, it's just going to be that. So that's just it. That's all they did.
Yeah. So with this, we go back to the Beast Druid archetype, which has been an archetype that has been just slowly but surely gaining tools as we move along in Hearthstone. I take a look at something like Verdant Longneck, and I see it as a turn 5, which then allows me to go into turn 6 with Menagerie Warden as something to be able to copy it with. And I go, what effect would I want my Verdant Longneck to have going forward? Especially with the 3 that would get put in front of me. What ones would I look forward to it having? Like, the +3 health one, definitely. Shrouding Mist to be able to make another copy of it. I have Stranglethorn Tiger for that, and it has 1 more health, and it's in the same slot. So, Living Spores giving me +1, or giving me 2 1/1 plants. If I want to build this and make this a token deck, I can. Token Beast Druid, hashtag New meta. Flaming Claws, I'm gonna say no. Or Liquid Membrane? Maybe. Just to force my opponent to have to be able to throw minions at it. So, if anything, like, when it comes to Wild, especially with Bran rotating his happy butt into Wild, having this with the Battle Cry, it's going to potentially be nutty. So, let's give him the +3 attack and +3 health to make him a 8/7. Bob, go ahead with this. I can't keep going on.
I think you're thinking way too much about Adapt. Basically,
I'm going and selling it high.
Yeah, well, you're selling it as I'm making plans what I'm going to do with it right now. The truth be told, since this is Angoro, this is the dinosaur set, which means we're going to see a lot of beasts anyway. So definitely fodder for Druid and Hunter. So of course they're going to be pushing Beast Druid, but I don't think that's what this card is doing. I also don't think that you should look at Adapt with, oh, look at all the crazy things I can do with my Beast Druid. Adapt is essentially, here's what Adapt is for. Adapt is there to essentially, for you to, when you play this card, to basically look, see what you need to accomplish whatever your goal is, and then pick it. It's not there for you to, I'm going to make, don't make plans ahead of time. Chances are, if you're going to make a specific type of deck like a token deck, there are cards that do a better job of that than an Adapt card. An Adapt card is essentially your Swiss Army knife. Basically, it has a multitude of tools. It will give you 3 options. You pick what you want. It's a weaker version of some of the effects that Kazakus would give. To give an example, I'm not putting on the same power level as Kazakus. Heck no. But think of how you use Kazakus, and that's how you're using Adapt. So it's not going to make a lot of sense for you to try to plan out ahead of time. Oh, it's going to be so powerful, because Adapt is basically going to serve serve what you need. Do you need minions to stick on the board? Then you're looking at Divine Shield or health. Do you need to make a big threat? You're looking at attack. Do you need to defend your life? You're looking at taunt. Stuff like that. So, I mean, to say, I can do all this crazy stuff with Adapt, that's not what Adapt is for. And when you're going to be playing the game realistically, you're going to be playing an Adapt minion because you're going to be looking to try to pick something to answer whatever is on the other side of the board. Whatever your answer is, that's what you're going to be rolling Adapt for. Stat lines are okay. The card in general is okay. Adapt, I think, is going to give this a little bit more longevity, but I think this is more of a baseline card for what we're going to see in this expansion. So I can't say it's great. I can't say it's terrible. I just think it's okay. I think it's pretty much a vanilla stat line card. So I think it's just something that if you need to fill a slot or if you need to put it in for Adapt to do a job, that's what it's there for. It's not something I'm going to get really excited about. But I will acknowledge that if I need somebody to come in and do something, to do a certain job, I will call him Verdant Longneck. So, yeah, it's a card. Next up, we have, well, let's talk about this next mechanic. Like I said, they're spicing things up and adding taglines and tribes that have kind of been here, but now that they're really focusing on them, they've added Adapt as a mechanic, but they've also added one new mechanic. One that I'm actually excited about, and that is quests. Basically, you have these quest cards. Quest cards are legendary spells. Each class is going to have one. This is going to be in addition to the legendary minion. So basically, each class are going to have 2 legendaries: a spell, which is a quest card, and then a legendary minion. This means that we are going to have fewer neutral legendaries. I think they said there are going to be 5. But yeah, legendary spells. And basically, what the quest does is, if you have the quest is going to cost 1 mana. If you have a quest card in your deck, it will always appear in your opening hand. Now, you actually can mulligan these things away if you want to. Don't see why you would, because chances are you built your entire deck around them, but they will appear in your opening hand and you can mulligan. Now, that means on turn 1, or whenever you want, they cost 1 mana, you play it, and then it's going to take up a slot on your secret board. So one of those like 5 or 6 slots. And basically, you now have a quest, you have an objective. When you meet that objective, you will then complete the quest, and you will get in your hand a legendary minion. Basically, whatever your reward is. Now, it's not going to summon it to the field. You get it in your hand, and you then have to pay for it. But normally these legendary minions are a little bit are a little bit more powerful than legendary minions that you would just have in your deck. And for the example they gave us Awaken the Makers, which is the priest quest. This quest is to summon 7 Death Rattle minions. The reward is Amara, Warden of Hope. Now, Amara, Warden of Hope is a 5-cost 8/8 legendary with taunt and the battle cry. Set your hero's health to 40. Yeah. She's being compared a lot to Reno Jackson, mainly because this is not only going to full heal you, but your health is going to be at 40. And she's just beefy. There's already people complaining about her. Here's the thing. If you are playing with a quest card, you are building your deck around this card. In this sense, you're going to be building Death Rattle Priest. It's going to be a little bit difficult to pay off the quest, which is why Amara is so cheap at 5 mana, because you're probably not going to be able to get her until later in the game. A lot of people are saying, well, you can summon a Death Rattle minion every turn. You're not going to summon a Death Rattle minion every turn. Let's be honest. It's not going to happen. It's not meant to happen either. It's meant that you build your deck around these quests, you play the game normally, and you're naturally going to meet these quests. Now, you can try to rush the quest, but you'll naturally meet these quests if you have built your deck correctly, and you'll get a reward. Sounds simple. It's basically a way to encourage creative deck building, and to make players actually flex their deck building muscles. I'm all for this. This also means I think that we're going to be seeing a bunch of new Death Rattle minions, something that we really haven't seen since Naxxramas. I'm all for this as well. I think this is a good addition and a healthy addition to the game. Much like I was excited about multi-class cards, I'm very excited about the additions of quest cards, what this means for the game. I'm very excited about the idea of legendary quests. I think this is very exciting and very healthy moving forward. No, I don't think this means much about this expansion. I'm not saying this is going to be the big thing for this expansion, but I'm looking forward and seeing that in the future, this is a very good step for Hearthstone to take. And for that reason, I'm excited for quest cards. I'm going to probably be experimenting with some of them, but even if I don't, I think just Hearthstone getting to a point to actually make cards like these means that we can see more creative cards in the future, and I think that's very exciting.
Well, if anything, Bob, I do know that when it comes to Priest in general, with this quest card, it makes your Resurrect a lot more potent.
It makes N'Zoth a lot more potent too, because it says summon, not play. It says summon, not play.
Yeah, I was actually gonna get around to that and mentioning N'Zoth because, like, N'Zoth Priest was already a thing. And now it's just, you've basically given the deck a shot in the arm.
Well, the current version of N'Zoth Priest is losing a lot of what made it, so it needs a new shot in the arm anyway.
Yeah. And so, if anything, like, you take a look at some of the stuff that you have as far as early Death Rattle goes. You've got Harvest Golem, you've got Mistress of Mixtures to be able to have control. You can also do Twilight Summoner in your 4-cost slot. You've got,
I thought Twilight Summoner was 5-cost.
I will double check.
I'm pretty sure it's 5-cost.
I will double check and make sure and put an annotation in the spot just for confirmation. You've got Karn Bloodhoof. Yes, you're losing Museum Curator. There's Shifting Shade.
Nope, Shifting Shade's gone.
Seriously?
Shifting Shade was League of Explorers. That's why I said they're losing. They're losing Museum Curator. Shifting Shade was League of Explorers. They're losing Sylvanas because it's being rotated into Wild and to Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Son of a bitch!
That's why I said you cannot rely on the way Death Rattle Priest looks now. I do think that we're going to be getting an onslaught of new Death Rattle minions. Like, I don't think it's going to be the amount that we've gotten. Like, we've gotten a few every expansion. I think we're going to get more than normal because they said that was one of the big reasons they were rotating Sylvanas out.
Yeah. So if anything, you've got at least potentially something to look forward to. In Wild, though.
Oh my word.
Sludge Belcher, Dr. Seven, Sneeds. And you've also got Reno still in Wild. Oh, this card going, as far as the Wild side goes, you've gotta basically have a hearth boner in a sense, because you're just like, oh, this is gonna be so good.
I'm still testing out of my mind whether it would be worth converting my legendary deck and into a more Death Rattle focused legendary deck. I'm not there yet, but I am testing it out and working it out in my mind if I want to go that direction.
Oh yeah, because I mean, it's just, like I said, you just take a look at just all the stuff you have to pull from, and then you just kind of like start working with some of the stuff that's going to be coming in, and you're just, it makes you salivate just a little bit. So, on both sides of this, because I didn't do this with Verdant last time, I'm going to put Awaken the Makers in my very good / meta-defining card area. Because with that war that you get, depending on what you do with Priest, this card is going to make things bonkers. And you're going to have a butt ton of fun with it. So, I'm really looking forward to Awaken the Makers.
I'm looking forward to seeing the other quest cards.
I completely agree, but right now Awaken the Makers just has me salivating for the rest of them.
Like I said, I like this. I think this is a good sign for things to come.
Mm-hmm. So, we can shift into the last card for this discussion, and that's Gentle Megasaur. It's a 4-cost, 5/4 epic beast with Battle Cry, adapt your Murlocs. This card. Because I look at it, and I see the water package with Finja and the 2 War Leaders and the Bluegill Charger being potentially bonkers and going insane with it, but more of a mid-game burst because of Finja. So you play this while Finja is on board. He gets Wind Fury, and you go smack, smack twice. Your water package flies from the deck, and you just go off. So I'm like, on one end, I don't want to, I definitely don't want to put this on Pirate Package level busted, because Pirate Package level busted it was insane. But this could be a headache going forward, depending on the situation. So I see the Gentle Megasaur and I go, you have very high potential to be very good or meta-defining. But realistically, I need to see you in play before I get too antsy about it. So, if anything, Bulb.
Why is it called the water package? Why not just call it the Murloc package? There's nothing else besides Murlocs there.
That's just what they call it. I don't know.
Call it for what it is. Murlocs. You could call it the water package all you want. You call it the Murloc package. It's the Murloc package. Yeah, are Murlocs such a dirty word now you can't speak their name?
No, but when you're trying to fuse them in with pirates...
Oh, okay. There we go. There we go. There we go. Say it's Murlocs plus pirates and we throw in a water elemental because we feel like it.
They just want to make sure that they differentiate, is all. So they just call it the water package.
Here's my big question. It seems... it says adapt your Murlocs. I would imagine it's just the Murlocs on your board, but it's not specific enough. So... does it affect the Murlocs in the deck or in your hand? I would imagine, like I said, it's just the board. It makes sense that's just the board.
Yeah, and that's my biggest problem that I've had, and I've always had that problem with it and when I saw it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, it leaves too much of a huge question mark for my brain, because it's just like, let's go back to that Finja combo. And, you know, Finja has, like, let's say Finja has Wind Fury. If it pulls those out of the deck, and then you get to go right immediately into being able to adapt that, the Bluegill Charger, being able to give it Wind Fury right out the gate while it has charge, that just makes it even more busted. So it's just like...
It's like,
what do we do?
Given how I know that Hearthstone tends to work, I can't imagine it being anything but just Murlocs on the field. But we have seen hand buffing stuff, we've seen deck buffing stuff, and given that's just recently, that's why I have the big question mark. Logically, it has to be the Murlocs on the board. but I think it's just vague enough that I think we need more information on this. I think Blizzard needs to come out and needs to change the wording on the card so that it's more straightforward. Because otherwise, there'll have to be experimentation when we first start off. Curator decks are definitely going to be more of a thing now.
Menagerie.
Than they are, yeah. Menagerie. Fine, we'll call them Menagerie decks. You don't want to call them Curator decks. You don't want to call them Murloc decks because they have pirates. Maybe, possibly. You just forgot all the pirates in your other deck. Fine.
But hey, it could be a definitive Menagerie deck because, I mean, you're thinking along the lines of, like, well, we've got the Zoobot, we've got the Menagerie Magician, and then we can just put in beasts and we'll just make a different zoo in a different class now.
More than likely, what we'll end up having are a bunch of very specific Murlocs, beasts that specifically affect those Murlocs. So mainly we're looking at Gentle Megasaur. And maybe a dragon or two just to... Actually, I can't see them packing in dragons now. They probably will not. They'll probably just pack in a couple beasts, and they'll pack in mainly Murlocs, and they'll call it a day. Even if they don't play any of the Menagerie stuff, I could see this fitting into a Murloc deck. And I hate Murlocs. I hate Murlocs.
So if anything, buddy, where do you...
This is going to be a meta-defining card. I know it's going to be a meta-defining card. This is going to be the annoying card we have to put up with for the next 2 years. Oh, man.
I'm sorry, buddy. If anything, I mean...
I thought for sure that with like any Finn and Murloc Knight, you know, rotating out, we might see the last of Murlocodon, but nope. I think it's going to be alive and well.
Murloc Buffeted. Whee!
The Murlocs will never leave. They will never leave. But hey, maybe they will beat up the pirates for domination. They'll eat all the pirates, and then we'll be crying about Murlocs.
You make a fair argument, but at the same time, that's... On one end, that's a world I want to live in, and on the other end, that's not a world I want to live in.
To be fair, as much as I hate Murlocs, they've never been the dominant deck type. They exist.
Yeah,
the people who will play the Murlocs will play this. If anybody is playing a Murloc deck and likes playing Murloc decks, they will play this. They'll play this card. I do not see Murlocs becoming the dominant deck type. They may become a little bit more popular, but we will see them, I think, staying in the meta, probably being a little bit more a part of the meta than they have been before. So enjoy, everybody. At least any Finn's not going to be around anymore. You're just going to have to worry about big Murlocs.
Wee.
Have fun! And only 5 cards, and it's been like 45 minutes to an hour. 5 cards. Now you know why it takes so long.
If anything, when it comes to us, we like to do a deep dive and discussion. So, if anything, if you enjoyed what you heard, definitely leave us a comment below. Discuss the card yourself. And be sure to tune in next Wednesday for a larger dump of stuff and hopefully a recovered Eddie from surgery.
Yeah. Like, subscribe, follow us on Twitch. And don't forget to read our novel, Why Murlocs Hate Me. We will see you next week.
Bulbous pinned it.